How a manager made PSG better without Mbappe is the ultimate proof that logic doesn't always win in football.
Without Mbappe, that fraud left PSG 2 years ago, and they have won 2 UCL since.
For years, PSG was a collection of individuals who crumbled under pressure. Today, they're back-to-back Champions League winners and treble heroes. The secret? A manager who was brave enough to tell the biggest ego in football that the system comes first. PSG didn't just survive life after Mbappe, they evolved into a relentless, high-pressing monster that has finally conquered Europe again.
There's no doubt for me PSG are a better team, not just without Mbappe, but without Neymar and Messi and all those superstars they had a few years ago.
To understand what Luis Enrique built, you first need to understand what he walked into. PSG spent roughly a decade operating on one central belief: if you assemble enough world-class talent into the same squad, the Champions League will eventually arrive. They brought in Zlatan Ibrahimovic, then Edinson Cavani, then David Beckham, Thiago Silva, Marco Verratti. Then they shattered the world transfer record for Neymar. Then they added Mbappe on top of that. The squad looked terrifying on paper every single season. And every single season, the knockout rounds exposed the same problem. These weren't teammates, they were a collection of individuals who happened to wear the same shirt. When the pressure hit its highest point in the Champions League, when margins tightened and games needed collective intelligence rather than individual magic, PSG crumbled. Barcelona came back from 4-0 down to knock them out in 2017. Manchester United went through on away goals in 2019 with basically a reserve squad. Real Madrid eliminated them in 2022. Each exit felt more embarrassing than the last.
For PSG, I think in some ways, in so many ways, it's even more embarrassing than the comeback by Barcelona years ago. This is a referendum on the individual player and then on the group. On the individual player, because there are some guys out there that the body language said, well, we don't know what's happening out here and we're not interested in solving it.
The problem wasn't the talent. The problem was that the culture rewarded individual brilliance over collective discipline.
Egos, mate.
Big egos.
Them front threes, they don't think they can do the dirty work. They're too prestige to do the dirty work. It always seems like it's 11v8. They're never tracking back. It's just crazy.
I wouldn't expect them to defend.
The system bent around the players, not the other way around. And when Mbappe arrived and became the face of the club, the problem deepened.
That's why PSG don't win the Champions League. Because a team wins the Champions League. And PSG is not a team. It's Mbappe and 10 others. And this is just another example of it. Absolutely perfect. Takes the huffy puff because they don't do what he wants to do. How about you do your job and do as you're told?
His contract situation meant PSG essentially had to accommodate whatever he wanted. He pressed when he felt like it. He defended when the mood suited him. And because he was Mbappe, nobody said a word. Luis Enrique said several words. Reports throughout his early months in Paris pointed to one message delivered repeatedly and without compromise. Everyone runs. Everyone defends. No exceptions. It didn't matter what you earned, what trophies you'd won, or what your agent thought. If you didn't contribute out of possession, you didn't play. Simple, non-negotiable, brutal.
I think Luis Enrique has gone in there and said to the ownership, this is the way we have to do it. This is the best route for success. And it's not about one person, it's about the squad, the team, it's about work rate, it's about belief. It's about the basics of football. And I think they've backed him in that. But I think what he's done with this group of players is immense.
Ousmane Dembélé is the clearest proof of what that policy does to a player. For years at Barcelona, Dembélé's career was defined by flashes of brilliance surrounded by inconsistency, injuries, and a reputation for not working hard enough.
It's the right word. Look at his 4 years at the club. At Barcelona, he's played, 50% of the game? I think he's got a goal every 240 minutes. Something like this. It's not good enough, despite all the talent. And sometimes you see and you think, wow, what could he become? What could he be? Because he clearly has a lot of talent.
Under Enrique at PSG, something clicked. He ran, he pressed, he tracked back. He won the Ballon d'Or because a manager refused to let him hide, and Dembele discovered that his talent was twice as dangerous when it came with discipline attached to it.
At 28 years old, the talent was always there. It was just for him to finally find the extra little thing that would take him to another level. And he found that this season, and I'm obviously completely biased, but I'm very happy for him. But I also think he deserves it. He's the best player in the world currently.
That cultural shift was Enrique's first real signing. Once the culture changed, the tactics followed naturally. The PSG that existed before Enrique was built around a 4-3-3 that essentially functioned as a platform for individual stars. The structure existed to give talented players space and freedom. It was reactive rather than proactive, especially without the ball. Enrique scrapped it.
We try to manage the way we play, and in that case, I have to say that everybody gets involved, everybody took the positive things, and as a team we are very happy because I think we are better than the last year on and off the ball, and it's important for us.
What he built instead was a fluid 4-4-2 that didn't look like a 4-4-2 until the moment it needed to. In possession, PSG could shift their shape constantly, pulling defenders out of position and creating overloads in unexpected areas.
A 6 you can be an 8 can be a 10 can do a 6, and with the front you never know when they are in the left, sometimes in the middle, and it's difficult for them, for the other teams. I know when the teams does this against us, it's difficult.
Out of possession, the same shape became a suffocating press that gave opponents almost nowhere to breathe. The Bayern Munich semi-final showed exactly how this worked in practice. Bayern press aggressively and almost entirely man-to-man, which is normally very effective, but Enrique designed a specific trap for it. Fabian Ruiz sat deeper on the left, which pulled Bayern's Konrad Laimer into an awkward position where he couldn't fully commit to either Ruiz or the space behind him. Meanwhile, Kvaratskhelia dropped deep repeatedly, dragging Upamecano out of his defensive line. The moment Upamecano followed, the space opened up in behind. Kvaratskhelia then spun off him, and the pace race was already over before it started. Bayern's defensive structure, which had been so reliable all season, kept breaking apart because PSG's movement was specifically designed to break it apart. The opening goal came directly from that sequence. Nuno Mendes staying deep on the left wasn't accidental either. It kept him in position to deal with Bayern's transfer threat on that flank, which allowed Ruiz to stay disciplined in the half space, rather than pushing forward and leaving gaps. Every player's positioning was connected to every other player's positioning. That level of collective understanding doesn't come from talent.
They all attack together, they all defend together, they all press together, they all counter-press together, which was not the case before.
It comes from months of work, a manager who demands it, and players who've bought fully into the idea that the system matters more than their individual moments.
Clearly the intention was to make this squad younger. Younger means fitter, it means more energy to play the style of football that Luis Enrique wants. And I think in the end, this is also a squad that's been built by Luis Enrique in his own image for the style that he wants the team to play.
Then came the Arsenal final, and here's what made it genuinely revealing. PSG didn't have an exceptional game. At times, they gave the ball away in midfield. Their forwards were largely quiet, and Arsenal made it incredibly difficult for them to find their rhythm.
But PSG would only get better because how they performed today, in terms of the slightest opportunities that they had, they tried to take them. They tried to make more opportunities along the match. They tried to really try and fizz the ball into the box several times, try and open locked doors, but unfortunately, Arsenal were just too good in terms of defense.
By PSG's own standards, it was a poor performance. Yet they still controlled possession. They still dominated territory. They still created more chances.
Again, you open the game to them, to PSG, you get punished. You close the game to PSG, you get punished. You do a mix, you also get punished, and I think they're just a wonderful footballing team.
Even a shadow version of Enrique's PSG looked like the superior team.
And this is the point of this whole thing when we talk about Arsenal, is that PSG were able to be a little bit of a shadow of what they can be, and yet were still able to put their foot on the ball and dominate it with, certainly possession, with consummate ease.
So, where does Luis Enrique actually sit now? 3 Champions League titles, 2 continental trebles, league titles in Spain and France, back-to-back European crowns with a squad he rebuilt from scratch. That's not a resume you argue with.
Where does Luis Enrique rank now in terms of?
Bro, we're looking at, bro. The guy's got 3 Champions Leagues, bro. His record is insane. He's got a back-to-back Champions League. He's got 2 trebles, and he's got 3 Champions Leagues. Bro, we're looking at one of the best managers that in our generation in the last.
That puts him on the same graphic as Pep Guardiola and Carlo Ancelotti, the 2 names that have dominated the best manager conversation for over a decade. And now that he's genuinely in that conversation, it's worth being specific about what separates them, because the differences are more interesting than the trophies. Start with Guardiola. Pep's system is a machine. Every player occupies a defined position in a defined moment. The spacing is measured in meters. The triggers are rehearsed thousands of times. When it runs perfectly, it's the most aesthetically complete football anyone has ever built. But when it doesn't run perfectly, the machine seizes. City's Champions League record, despite all of their domestic dominance, shows that even the most precisely engineered system can stall when one cog is missing, or when a final doesn't go according to plan. Enrique's PSG operates differently. The pressing is intense, but the structure is designed to handle chaos rather than eliminate it. When Kvaratskhelia goes missing in a final, the team doesn't crumble. When the midfield loses the ball repeatedly, the shape recovers. It's not because the system is looser, it's because the system is built to absorb disruption and keep functioning anyway. That resilience in Munich and against Arsenal in the same Champions League run tells you something about how Enrique has engineered this squad at a psychological level, not just a tactical one. The Ancelotti comparison hits differently because it directly addresses the Mbappe question. Carlo's greatest skill has always been managing enormous egos and getting the best from players who need to feel like the central character in the story. Benzema at Real Madrid was the perfect example. The system existed to create space for him. It worked brilliantly, and Ancelotti won his 4th Champions League doing exactly that. Now, consider that Mbappe joined Real Madrid and Ancelotti's task became managing the 2 biggest egos in world football simultaneously. Meanwhile, Enrique did the exact opposite. He told the biggest ego in his dressing room that the system came first. Mbappe left. PSG won back-to-back Champions Leagues. That's not luck. That's philosophy, validated at the highest level. What makes Enrique particularly hard to dismiss is the evolution. The Barcelona criticism was fair at the time. Beautiful football, sometimes lacking penetration. Too comfortable in possession when the game needed something more direct. He absorbed that. PSG now attacks vertical space aggressively, counter-press at intensity, and score goals in multiple ways across a single game. That's a manager who genuinely changed how he thinks, rather than just defending what worked before.
He's been an outstanding manager for a long time, and he'll look to be inventive again. So that's why he's going to be a manager, a very, very good manager, for even longer to come. And that's what Pep Guardiola has done all these years. He's kept on just tinkering with things and changing with things and evolving things year in, year out.
His personal life shaped that willingness too. After losing his daughter, Shanna, in 2019, those who've worked closely with him described a man who stopped caring about political pressure or reputational risk.
But there is some sentimental side there. The fact that this man is back managing with what he and his family have been through with the loss of their young daughter, it's quite amazing.
When you've been through that, dropping a world-famous forward for not pressing hard enough isn't a difficult conversation. It's just a conversation. That perspective is exactly why PSG's cultural reset was possible, because the person leading it genuinely couldn't be intimidated. The rest of Europe has a real problem.
I don't see who can stop them next season in terms of going for a three-peat. I'll be honest.
I fully agree.
I genuinely think it was massive for them to win it the way they did. The last season's was the dominant one. This one was more of a grind.
I agree.
But they got it over the line. They've done it both ways.
This squad is young, the identity is locked in, the ownership is committed, and the manager is still developing. PSG spent 15 years trying to buy greatness. Luis Enrique showed them how to actually build it. And back-to-back Champions Leagues is the proof. If you want more breakdowns like this, subscribe. There's a lot more coming.